Hello again, this is UML Operator. Okay, we're finally to the Publish tab, probably the most used tab that you will go to in Sparx Enterprise Architect. Of course, next to Start. Everyone starts here. I talked about the importance of layout, but Publish is where you show off your work with your stakeholders and teammates. All right, in this session, we're going to be covering model reports panel or group, the diagram image, and model exchange. All right, all very important panels and groups to pay attention to. And again, go to Start, go to the help, open the help, and then from when the help comes up, application development, desktop rather, the ribbon menu, and in the ribbon menu, publish ribbon. All right, and go through this. We're going to be covering these panels as we're going through. You can certainly read ahead and progress at your own speed. All right, in the model reports panel, the very first set of tools is Report Builder. And here you can publish a document in Word, PDF, rich text format, in or using custom templates. All right, so when you hit the down caret, the very first tool in the reports section is generate documentation, right? So the second one is generate documentation from selected objects, which is really cool. The next one is simple diagram report. And then in the document section, you can open a document file. You can create a new document file. Now, I'm going to cover reporting in details, including creating your own custom reports in a later session. So I'm just going to touch and demonstrate a few of these that are here. So if you select generate documentation, a dialog box pops up, says generate documentation, and you can select the target where you want the file to be output to. So you hit these triple dots right here, goes to wherever you want to put that file. I'm going to go here, takes the default name. I already have one with that name. You can change the name using whatever naming convention you have for versioning or what the report might be about, because you might have changed something within the models to a specific group, target, viewpoint, or views and concerns. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. It sees it's already there. I'm going to step on it, and then I'm going to hit generate. So right now it's generating this in Microsoft Word docx file extension, right? So as it's going through, you see a progress bar right here, letting you know how it's going. It's telling you the progress is there, tells you when it's done. You can hit view from here and it will launch that artifact. I'm going to go ahead and close this in wherever I have multiple monitors. So wherever that word is launching is where it's going to come up. So you can see, hey, I got this. It was created by UML Operator on this date, last modified on this date. You have diagram 1, diagram 2, diagram 3. You have another package here. It tells you it's a package. You have a disposition. Then you get into applications. In each one of the applications, you get into the connectivity, requirements traceability, attributes. Model report has a lot in it. I'm gonna stop scrolling and go ahead and close it. All right, and we're going to go back to Sparx, and I want to show you that I had all of these that are printed in the report. So we look at this one. Let's say we don't want to run this one in the report. So I can double click in here, go to diagram, and I can click on document generation options. I want to exclude this one, right? Not going to talk about the others when we get to reporting. More advanced subject, we'll cover it there. How about this one? I don't want this one in the report either. It was for a PowerPoint presentation. You know, I don't need it. So double click anywhere in the diagram, bring up the diagram dialog box, go to the diagram group right here, section, and then right here, exclude image from documentation, hit OK. Doesn't matter if they're up or visible. Doesn't even matter if I'm focused on this. When I go here and I go to generate to run this report, and I'm going to take all the defaults that we just did and go ahead and hit generate. I don't even get asked if I'm stepping on it, if I do it that way. It just writes right over it. So be careful of that as well. I love the feature. I don't like being interrupted. I'm versioning my report. I'm gonna hit view. I'm versioning my report. I want to get right to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit close. We're gonna go here. Now I have that report up. Just have the one diagram because I excluded the other ones. It's covering all of the elements and the details in the model report. The model report is, pretty extensive. I'm in Word. I like being in web layout with navigation pane turned on. So I have my table of contents is here. I don't need a table of contents in the Word document. Hopefully we're in the digital age. We don't even know what a table of contents is, but there you go, right? So I'm going to close this. We're going to go back to Sparx, and let's see here. Oh, one of the really cool things I want to make sure I cover, let's do something like the internet all the way to these elements. So I can select elements that I want to report on, generate documentation by selected objects. So I'm having a conversation. I want to do something. You can see that the element chose the name selected element. So this is letting you know, you're reporting on selected elements. You're not reporting on the package level. The output actually named the file the same thing as this tag that's up here. Now, when I select this, I can give the name any name I want. Like the conversation is around potentially a particular subject, like service architecture, the internet, load balancer, and service architecture. You can get as verbose as you want in your file naming. I want to go fast here, so I'm going to step on this. We're going to take model report again. It's probably a large report. I should have done something a little smaller, but it's right now generating the model report just on those elements. And it went pretty fast because I only had a couple. So progress bar, it's completed, hit view, right? And so go ahead and close, minimize, here we go. See, it's just on these elements: internet, load balancer, runtime fabric, service exchange, control plane. So whatever your documentation is pretty light. I don't have a lot of intelligence under here, but it will go through that and do that for you. Let's close, go back to Sparx again. And what's the next item? Simple diagram report. I'm just going to go ahead and select it. All right, so e-commerce, it's taking the name. You see that? It went right to diagram report. All right. So for me, because I chose simple diagram report. Now I want to be careful here. I don't want to hit generate because it's going to step on whatever the last document was. And I want to call this one e-commerce diagram report, or whatever your naming convention is that satisfies your document management strategy, right? So I'm going to hit save. We're going to hit generate. It's pretty fast, and then I'm going to hit view because it's just a diagram, right? So then it's running diagram report, different from model report. And we're going to hit close. We're going to look at it. See, it's just a diagram. Now, if I had notes, intelligence under the diagram, that would show up in this report as well. But it creates a diagram report. If I would have had all three diagrams chosen, the diagram report would have been all three diagrams. I just have the one because I excluded the other two from reporting. All right, before we move to the next item, let's go back to Report Builder. We're going to hit the down arrow and we're going to launch Generate Documentation. And I have to point out something that is mission critical. By default, Sparx, I believe, still has Use Internal Viewer, right? So everything you've seen so far in the demonstration is printing to Word X. And then when I hit View, I'm viewing it in Word. All right. You can view in Adobe, right? If you were to print to PDF, but let's go ahead and run this. Still the docx, but we're going to use internal viewer. I'm going to step on the previous report. So I'm just going to hit generate, and it's running through and generating this report. And then when it's done, I'm able to view using the Sparx internal viewer. So let's hit view. And now I'm viewing this report inside Sparx, all right? It's in docx and so on. Sparx has the ability to read a PDF within the internal viewer, all of that, all right? But I don't, and this tab launched here, document edit tab, where you can do editing of the document. You can add diagram reports or insert other things, but I digress and not going to cover that till we get to the more detailed reporting. We're going to go back to publish. We're going to select the book this time to bring up the dialog. And then I am going to turn that off because I don't like that feature. I love the fact that Sparx can, run the report in here very quickly so that you can do edits and view, and then you might have to rerun the report and all those things, but I don't use the internal viewer. All right, next is open a document file. Now this can be confusing to some because as soon as I select this, it's really opening a code file. So let me just open this one right here. I'm going to open it. So it's opening up this document, this code, if you will, within Sparx. What I can come and do here is I can work on my notes here, my documentation within my code, or I can copy specific code and I can put it into reports that I'm building. So, and then this is create a new document file. I'm going to hit yes. And then I can create a report, a document file. And, maybe I'm just reporting on this code, right? So copy, paste, right? And I can do documentation around particular code. I don't do it this way, but that's an option that you have within Sparx. And to show you, we're going to go into the next tool capability within models, and that model reports, and that's custom documents. So let's go ahead and select this. We get this dialog. I'm on this package. I want to say, I'm going to stay on this package. You can choose other packages. I don't know, test results. How's that? And then you might have a convention, date, time, whatever, right? Click help if you need help. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. And what it's doing is it's generating a document around test results, right? So I can come down here, test results review. These are canned templates. I didn't create these. These are in Sparx. Let's just choose this one. Makes sense, right? I'm going to hit OK. So it immediately brings up a custom document called test results. And then in this particular area, you can have a conversation around the results. So general comments, maybe right here, you want to paste in the code. You want to talk about the code. You can generate this and then it becomes available. We're going to go ahead and hit save. Now this document, custom document, test results, is available in the e-commerce folder where we ran it, and others can get to it quickly in a conversation, right? Double click it. There we go. And there's the conversation, right? And create as many of those as you want. I usually don't put these in the parent folder. I create another package called testing or test results with no diagram like that. I don't know why I'm covering this. It's not what this video is about. And then I usually publish them to or move them to this particular package or wherever your testing documentation repackage is in your team. Right. Next in the report model reports group, we have model documents. So this is interesting because it allows you to quickly add new elements to a package without having to go in the diagram at the same time and do it. And this is useful when a group, like your requirements engineer, your QA testing folks, your project management, your stakeholders are doing changes, issues. This allows you to do things very quickly, right? So you can create new, you select it, tool set, what tool set you want to use. Usually for me, it's structural, but you may be down in analysis and using requirement elements or other elements that are available in Sparx, documentation. You can save as default, package default. You can turn on auto naming or give the element rather a name. Type. I'm going to go fast on this. Stereotype, which is grayed out right now because of the type that was chosen. And these are grayed out because of the pre-selections up there. But if you need help on this one, you can hit help. Sparx will guide you through, let you know what this tab's all about. And now we're going to move on to templates and preview mode. Templates is just that in model reports. You can come over to templates. You can very quickly build a report, customize a report, get other reports that are available to you, and edit them. And then you can see you're in an edit tab. This popped up as soon as you went to templates. Document edit. It allows you to have all sorts of features for report writing, report creation, etc. We'll cover this more in detail when we get to that subject, but I'm going to go back over to publish. So when you're building reports, you can go into preview mode, and it basically does just what it says. So it's just putting you into preview mode on the model templates or template that you're focused on in this particular case. There's nothing in it. I didn't build anything, so there's nothing available. We'll cover that more in details again when we get to advanced report writing and so on. All right, we're still in model reports. The next capability we're going over to is publishing the HTML. So in this particular case, you can actually publish your documentation, your model, and all the intelligence underneath it into a web format and then push it to wherever your website is, all right? So if I select this, it's basically allowing me to set that up. Title, output to. You can dump your file source to any output you want, including FTP server, all right? But I'll cover that when we get to advanced. Default style, you can choose your own style, your own theme. It depends on what you're going to. Your header image, you might want to put your own logo at the top. Otherwise, it's going to default to Sparx Enterprise Architect logo, which is not a problem. And then you have all these other settings. When we get to this subject in more detail, I'll cover that. And usually every time I do it, I make sure my glossary's on because I want to put a glossary off my website, right? So very powerful and useful capability for reporting to your own website. However, Sparx also publishes to Joomla, or what we sometimes call J. So Joomla is an open source, content management system. So it's widely used and very useful. I love it. And so I'll try to demo that when we get to this particular session, right? So next is generate help. Tell you the truth, I never use it. I don't even know if it's even on right now or able to use generate help, but it generates HTML web page from the selected help model, right? So don't use it. I'll look into it, maybe do something on it or include it in that subject area. Right, the next one's around diagram image. So we're going to start with print. We're going to hit the down arrow. So you can output this current diagram, or you can hit Control P, and it will output this to your printer or whatever your printer target is. I'm not going to do it right now. Preview, you can select preview to see what the diagram is going to look like in your page layout. So you can see how big, how easy it is to read your diagram. If your diagram is covering multiple pages, you need to break it up into whatever story you're telling. So that's a very powerful capability within the print selection. So of course your setup, just like in Windows on anything, it brings up your print setup. You can choose your printer, PDF, whatever target you're going to, hit cancel and configure that. So, and then print the PDF, brings up ability for you to actually print this particular diagram to a PDF form. All right. All right, next is save. So save to file, save this diagram to file. So I select this, brings up where I want to run it. I can choose, PNG, JPEG, GIF. Don't do bump files. They're very large unless you know what you're doing, but you can do that. So let's see here. I want to say something very important. Did it give me the shortcuts? No, it doesn't. Here's a tip. If you're on a diagram and you want to save it, just hit Control and T. Does the same thing, much faster, right? Control T, whatever diagram you're on, choose your extension, JPEG, PNG. Those are usually the two I use. So go from there. I think also SVG is now available. Yes, very nice Can't wait to get to that video session and talk about those features and capabilities added in Sparx. So save to clipboard. That's just copying it to clipboard. Control B is the shortcut, right? So I can Control B, and then I can go to whatever artifact I'm going to. I'm not going to do it. And then Control V for Victor and paste it in. Next is scale image. So I leave the default 137%, that's fine, but you can change the image in which you're printing, saving, copying, etc., right? So that's all I'm going to say on that one. We're going to move on to model exchange. All right, model exchange covers a lot of different subjects that are certainly a lot longer than this video is going to be. So reusable asset service, RAS. This is extremely useful, especially in a team environment. I'm going to go ahead and select it. I'm going to bring up this dialog window in the workspace. Allows you to connect to a repository. It can be local, LAN. You might have Sparx Cloud Services installed on your server. This could be AWS, Azure Cloud, but you put in the name, which is going to show up in your start page for whatever this connection is. You put in your protocol, whatever the server is, the port, and then the model name. This is normally your database name that your DBA or your admin will give you. And you're able to connect to Reusable Asset Service for a lot of powerful exchange. You can select help, and it will tell you a lot more to connecting Enterprise Architect to a cloud model. I'm going to go ahead and get cancel. When you're doing this, you can set up various repositories. Nothing's showing right now. You can, because I'm not connecting anything, these things are all disabled. But when I get to this particular video series, I'm going to cover all of this probably in 3, 4, 5 video sessions. All right. Next is publish as. I'm going to go ahead and select that. So you can publish your packages, any packages, the entire from root node down, or just specific packages. You can publish those via XML. And you'll learn about something called XMI, which is XML metadata interchange. And there's been a lot of different forms, versions of XMI over the years, even for particular implementations, vendors in the industry, right? I think the default is UML 1.3, which is XMI 1.0, which utilizes, document type definition. Sorry about that. I haven't used it in so long, I almost forgot what the acronym stood for. Export diagrams, and you can do other configuration. We'll get into that when we get into later sessions. So if you go to more modern XMI, you can see we don't use DTDs any longer. I don't know who does except for 1.x. Yeah, I go all the way up here. No one's using document type definition files anymore. So I'm going to keep it back on 1.3. Normally I use just, XMI 1.1, maybe 1.2. Very stable, allows me to move between older technologies, exchanging my models, my intelligence, all of that stuff. But when we get into that conversation, we'll dive more into these capabilities. All right, next let's talk about CSV. So CSV, comma separated values. All right, these are flat files where the data is separated by commas versus XML. And there's a lot of stuff you can do here we'll get into when we get into this conversation. You can take your models, which is essentially data. I mean, these models are all supported by data in a SQL database. And you can take that intelligence and export it like your requirement data, scope data, defect data, and you can import them into other platforms, right? And vice versa. Sparx allows you to export Excel, Microsoft Excel flat files into a CSV format and import it into Sparx and build model elements. This becomes very useful in data science, where we're bringing flat files, just business ready data sets and things like that, out of cloud or wherever we're getting it from, And we can import and build models around that data in Sparx. And we'll get into those advanced sessions later. You can configure your imports and your exports. We'll get into that and a lot more. So always help button, you can click this and learn more thanks to Sparx knowledge base. All right, the next one is package control. Now, this is not important in a local environment. You can do it, but it's not as necessary. But when you're in a team environment or a SQL environment, this is very important. If you go out here, I'm going to go ahead and select it, depending on what package that you're on, right? And I'm not going to talk about version control. I use Git. This is a little more complicated to connect with your version control. I don't need it, but I'm going to select control package because I do want to put the package under control, not necessarily version control, but under control for exchange purposes. So it's taking the path of the file. So I have e-commerce. I can certainly change the XML file to anything I want, put it in any path that I want. And then the type is XMI 1.1, as I told you. You can change to 2.1. XEA is the most modern, and native XML, which came out a couple of releases ago. I just go 1.1. It gives me more merge capabilities, which we'll talk about when we get into merge and exchange and syncing repositories and things like that. You set your version number. Again, I set everything start at 0.1. Now, as soon as I put this package of control, if I didn't have all of these packages under version 0.1, it will do it for me, right? The owner's UML operator, you can pick other owners, but it's me as on this, so I'm using that. Last load time, last save time, these are invalid because nothing's been done yet, right? I'm on 1.1. Do I want to use DTD? I don't know. I usually don't check that, but you can, right? Logging, up to you. I like logging, batch import, batch export. We'll get into this when we get into a more advanced session. Include sub packages, most definitely. Usually if you're going to do this, you might as well pick up all the sub packages in your exchange, because if not, when you're doing your import, you're going to miss them, right? So I have some packages, signals and testing that's underneath e-commerce. So include sub packages, right? That's all I'm going to say on that. You want more, hit help, and Sparx will walk you through it. Oh, I forgot to say something. As soon as you put a package under control, you get a little red icon next to the package, all right? Now, I'm not putting this under package control, but if I did, you'd get a little red mark on that. One second, let me do something. All right, I chose a file name path just for this demonstration. I've got this set, leave everything else set. I'm gonna hit okay, right? You see that little red mark that's next to the package? That means this package is under package control. This tells all your readers it's under package control. It may not be the original from a local source. It may be the original. You do that in your collaboration. I can put this under package control. You can put any package you want under package control. And you'll learn more about these icons as we progress through the channel series. So be sure to subscribe, put on notifications, know when things are coming out, watch what you want. Most importantly, comment good or bad. I need your feedback, so we're learning together. I know all of this. Maybe you know more than I do. And let's share it to each other and progress in model-driven development, model-driven architecture, most importantly, computer-aided software engineering. So last but not least is export and import. We're still in model exchange. So you can come up here. There's shortcuts to do this. So you can export, do lots, and import using lots of different formats and XMI approaches, right? So what I typically do is I don't use these features. I pick a package I want to export and I hit Control, Alt, and E for export. And it brings up this export package, native XMI. I can change what package I want to export all the way up to the root node. I can change where I want the export to go. I can change native format, XEA, XML, or XMI 1.1 is normally what I go with, because I'm going to give you a video on how to merge files, and it requires XMI 1.1 to work. Other than that, native is very fast, very clean. We'll show you that when we get to that. So export, and then I can import this way. XMI brings up this dialog box. What I normally do, Control, Alt, and I brings up the same box, right? So then I go out to wherever I exported the file. I leave the defaults set for import, not doing merge. We'll get into that when we get into that session. And then I click import. There's help for you if you need it. We're going to talk about baselining, very, very important. Something that I got to warn you all about, strip GUIDs. Don't check this unless you know what you're doing. Otherwise, leave it unchecked when you're importing your files, because otherwise it strips the global unique IDs off of the elements, the things that are in the importing XML file, and creates new GUIDs. Not good if you needed to sync with those global unique IDs across different model instances. So we'll get in more into that. Click help, follow that, learn more. All right, I think I made 30 minutes, probably going to go over 30 minutes due to the recap here, but let's recap. In this session, we covered the Publish tab, one of the third most at least, tab in all of the tooling in Sparx that you will use. We touched on model reports. We went a little deeper on generating model reports and all the power that's there. We got a long ways to go to jump down into the power of model creation, model reporting, and customizing and all that fun stuff, right? We touched on diagram images. I mean, you're creating models and pictures, you might as well use them the best of their abilities. You can publish them to websites, Joomla, anywhere you want. You can just take the diagram itself, put it into an image format. I told you about a tip called Control-T, brings up, run the diagram to in many formats, right? I use JPEG and PNG to any area. Very important. Control-T, use that. That way you don't have to jump over to the, where is it again? That's the Publish tab. Then I got to go to Save. It's just hit Control-T wherever you are, and boom, you're able to save it into a place where, drop it into an email, drop it into a Word document, drop it into anywhere you want to have a collaborate on very quickly. So you're drawing the pictures, might as well get the most use out of them, right? We talked about RAS, Reusable Asset Services, package control, exchange, how you can exchange your very important data with others, all right? You can version your XML. We're going to get into a lot of stuff when it comes into model exchange and collaboration and working between different cloud instances, server instances, even local instances. You may be sitting on the other side of the office from someone else in your local environment, and say, hey, UML operator, I just sent you an XML package, check it out, right? And then so much you can do. Publish tab, very, very important. We'll jump into a lot more as we're going forward. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I know trying to cover these very long subjects in 30 minutes, I failed a few times, sorry. I wish I could do it shorter, but people are telling me, hey, Tim, you go too fast. So I hope these are helpful for you. Please leave comments down below. The next session is going to be on settings. This is a more advanced area. We get into version control, package control. We get into configuration of Sparx, so your model administrators, but maybe this is stuff that you want to know as well. We get into UML types, stereotypes, configuring your general references, exchange, importing reference data, sharing reference data, all sorts of things. So lots of fun, lots of excitement in this one. I look forward to getting to that session with you as well. Thanks very much, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.